we are left in this dog-eat-dog world, right? Where only the so-called strongest thrive and everyone else falls through the cracks. Okay. Let me explain. Some of you may be familiar with the Karpman drama triangle. Okay, here is what it looks like. Okay, we have an oppressor, a victim, and a rescuer. And our patriarchal society runs like this, and it has been for many generations. And this is a triangle connecting the roles because anybody can easily transition from one role to the other. So you're not, just because you're a victim, you're not stuck in victim, or if you're an oppressor, you're not stuck in oppressor. You can easily be either of those. Right? So I'm going to illustrate that by using an example of European colonization. And I know there are a lot of examples of, family dynamics and things like that, and that works too, but I'm going to use the European colonization because it just fits in, and it's something that explains it really well. Okay, so when the Americans were colonized, the government or the Indian agent or whoever was came in and took over the lives of the people living in the Americas. Okay, everybody's familiar with that. And when that happened, the people living here in the Americas had no say. They had no control over their lives whatsoever. It happened pretty much instantly. And they completely lost control of their children as well, and their children were taken away from them. Okay, and this example, the oppressor is obviously the Indian agent or the government or whoever, and whatever example you're using, that oppressor role stands for power. The oppressor has power. And in our society, the oppressor stands for power. And don't we all just have a little bit of that in us? If you're honest, we either have that power, through whatever position we have, however much money we have, or whatever role we're playing, we have some kind of power over people. Or often we want that power. We will want more power to get that position, to have more what? We want that position to get more power, to have more money, to buy whatever gives us the illusion that we have more power than the other person. This has become really important. Now, the victims in the case of the example I'm talking about, the colonization of the Americas, were the parents and the children. And when you become a victim, even when the oppressor is no longer has control over you, even when everything is gone away, you don't just get out, brush the dust off of yourself and get on with your life. That doesn't happen. When you've been victimized, it stays with you until you can heal your wounds, because you were wounded then. And if it's not dealt with properly, then it will show up for the rest of your lives, and it will come up in other people too, because you will share, I guess, that victimization with other people. Now, in the case of the colonization of the Americas, these victim adults became angry and then apathetic. So it's like, why bother, why care? You've been victimized so much and you have so little power, absolutely no power. And so you just pretty much give up. And the child victims were confused and angry. And then what happens? What happens then? You continue to be a victim as you cannot shake that mentality, and you go from one victimization to another, to another, to another. Or what can happen is you become the oppressor. you gain that power, and then that feels good because if you're the oppressor, you're not the victim, and it's better to be the oppressor than the victim, right? And so often the children of those brought up in mission schools are not able to parent their children unless they have received some kind of support or nurturing elsewhere. Um, so we have generation after generation of oppressors and victims. Now, I worked as a volunteer in victim services in Yellowknife, and we learned about the Karpman drama triangle as part of our training. I mean, I was just a volunteer, but we had this pretty intense training, and it was just unbelievable. And it opened my eyes. I learned so much. I took so much more from that than what I actually gave in return, I feel, from what I did. But anyway, I saw this triangle playing out over and over again with the people I was working with, the people I was volunteering with. Now, Yellowknife is a small community in the Northwest Territories in Northern Canada. It's way up there. And it's actually the largest community in the Northwest Territories. It's the capital city. It's about 20,000 people. So it's a big metropolis compared to these little communities that are only like 300-400, sometimes 1,000 people, but there's nothing around them. Like you have to get on a plane to go to the next community. That's how small these places are. And so these people, they come to Yellowknife often because they get in a relationship, they get beat out, and you see it lots. And then they come to Yellowknife thinking, okay, I've gotten away from that. But guess what? Wherever you go, there you are. You take yourself with you. And so a lot of these, not everyone, but a lot of these people who were victimized came to Yellowknife thinking, I'm going to get over it. I'm going to start a new life. The same thing happens again and again and again. So what's going on? You get into that victim mentality, and you can't seem to get out of it, and you don't know how. You just don't know how. And it's not just there that this is happening. It even after moving to when I moved to the south, which is Edmonton, Alberta, where I was living. That's not exactly the south, but relatively it was the south. It was a big city, and I've seen it there. And in Vancouver, where I'm living now, I see it more. So it happens everywhere. This kind of thing, this triangle is everywhere, and it's part of what we live in. Now, I'm going to just go over the 9 basic human needs. All humans have these 9 basic needs, regardless of age, regardless of gender, or when in history you live. So like 10 generations ago, the same needs were there, and 10 generations from now, the same needs, and it doesn't matter who you are. So you all need these things. And I'll go through them really quickly because I did a video on that. It was a very bad one. It's one of my first ones, actually. I'm still in some of my first ones, so it's improving, I hope. But anyway, the 9 basic needs: subsistence. So we all need like the things that keep us alive, food, water, shelter, protection, safety, affection. So we need love, friendship, we need understanding. We need to have our voices heard. We need to have an opinion and have that heard. Idleness, we need free time. Creation, creativity. So, art, music, something that you create, YouTube videos, anything like that. Participation. So your work usually, or your volunteer work, something that you're making a difference. You're participating as part of your community. Identity, that's a really important one. And freedom. We all need those freedom. Now, when the colonization happened, all of a sudden, the people who had, for the most part, all of their needs were being met. But at this point, like think, when you look at these 9 basic needs, And, which ones don't they have anymore? Okay, protection, that's gone. Understanding, no, nobody's listening to them. Participation, now they can't participate. Now they can be a functioning member of society. And for sure, their freedom's gone, totally gone. And so all those needs aren't being met, and probably some of the other ones. Some people would argue that subsistence wasn't being met either. But without your needs being met, you cannot be truly fulfilled and you will not be okay. Definitely, if your needs aren't being met, you are not okay. And so something has to happen. So, you notice this triangle, right? We have a rescuer in there. Okay, so he's a good guy, right? I don't like to look at things as good or bad, because really this isn't about being good or bad. It's just about something having a positive or a negative influence, maybe. But yeah, the rescuer isn't there to make a positive influence. They might be well-meaning, but the rescuing is just keeping the whole triangle going. All right, so how does that work? The rescuer, in the case of the colonization, that would be probably the priest or the nun, or maybe some of the teachers. Some of the teachers were really good to the kids. The rescuer is someone who is seen as being, so-called good, and working for that person, working on their behalf, helping them. And the one you go to when you're in trouble. But the problem with this is that that rescuer is an enabler. So that rescuer is giving you something that would help satisfy you temporarily, but it's not meeting your needs. It's basically what the rescue is doing is giving you a handout, not a hand up. So keeping you down, keeping you on the floor, so that you are constantly in need of that rescuer, because that rescuer feels good being a rescuer, right? Feels good to have somebody lower so that you can give that victim something, with pieces of crumbs, whatever it is. So that's what the rescuer is doing. And so that's not such a great role. And when you think about it, like the policies and all what the government has trying to do, with the Native communities, by putting them into communities by themselves, and here, we'll just take care of you, we'll give you money, you don't do anything, just stay there. Then that's making them wards of the state. So that's keeping them as victims. But yeah, the rescuer has to be continually a rescuer, which means they always have to have a victim. So, you always need that victim there. And if you give that victim a hand up, the victim's no longer a victim, and then you're no longer a rescuer then. So what are you then? You have to, that means that you might become a victim yourself. So you might be saying, okay, so what does this have to do with us, with me now? Like this is, yeah, this could be a problem, but so what? This has nothing to do with me. Well, probably it does. Pretty much every society on Earth by now has faced similar situations as this. Even my own ancestry, the Irish, have been oppressed by the English. They've been taken from their homes as children and put in mission schools many generations ago. And it worked so well, apparently, that they decided to do it in the Americas too. So that was modeled, the mission schools were modeled after what had been done in Ireland. And so what happened after that is, generations of just working for the English. And then there was a potato famine happened. And so that's when my ancestors came over. My grandfather was second generation Canadian, and I didn't know him because he died before I was born. He died when he was about 50 something. He drank himself to death. And when with victimization, and that it happens over generations. So even though my grandfather was second generation Canadian, he was an alcoholic. He was a binge alcoholic. He would work and not drink for like a month at a time and then go on a bender and be gone for a week, and my grandmother wouldn't know where he was or anything like that. And he would, like, when he was drunk, he would beat her, and so yeah, he was abusive and he was an alcoholic, and so that's what my mother grew up in. She doesn't drink, she can't stand it, but she married an abusive alcoholic. And so this kind of stuff goes on and on and on throughout the generations. And we are stuck in that triangle. And it's really hard to get out. It's a very solid triangle. Okay, and so what was it like before that? Like it wasn't always like this, but it seems like it always was. It just seems like that's human nature. That's not human nature. We are not meant to be like that. So, well, as it was explained by the woman who was doing the training when I was in victim services, uh, the Karpman drama triangle represents our patriarchal society now, and she compared that to the traditional native society. But you can compare that to any society before this colonization, before all of this stuff went crazy. And it was like so many generations ago, we probably don't have much memory of it. But this is the way it looked before colonization. And that's for everybody, no matter what your roots. So, you notice that, like it's a circle, right? And there's no error, arrows point, it's quite a bit different. And this is a nurturing society. Everyone is equal. So it's not like you have somebody up here and somebody down here. That's the whole idea of the circle. The saying, we stand in a circle, not a pyramid. So, everybody looks eye to eye with everybody else. And everyone, all of us, it doesn't matter who you are, you have gifts to bring forth to everyone. No one is any better than anybody else. A doctor is no better than a McDonald's drive-through guy. So get that out of your head if you think that that is true. Like, oh, I want to be doctor because status, get that status. But you're not going to be better because of that. It's like we're all equal. We have to get that into our heads. You are equal. And so if you have a PhD, you have no reason whatsoever to, or any kind of justification to look down at the person who struggled just to get a grade 8. You're no better than that person. You're different gifts to bring forward, yes, but that doesn't make you any better. All right, so that's all I'm going to say for now. If you would like to know more about the Karpman Drama Triangle or the 9 Basic Needs by Manfred Max Neef, I have included the links in the description below. Now,